Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. It's time to explore what Burst of Destiny has to offer, and we'll be starting with the cutest, and possibly strongest, new theme it brings to the table. Flundereeze are a flock of globe-trotting, or flapping, avians that are exploring the world in search of adventure. However, these fluffy feathered friends aren't all that they appear to be. Previous winged beast themes have been all about mobilizing a bunch of monsters who can then act as a group threat, or used to pull another powerful monster from the extra deck. But Flundereeze don't draw their inspiration from Blackwings, Raid Raptors, or Lyrilisk. No, these explorers take after the regal might of the Monarchs. Comprised of smaller monsters that are used to tribute summon for larger ones, the Flundereeze look to turn normal summons into the new special summons, all while punishing their opponent for trying to play outside their rules by flipping enemy monsters face down and negating the effects of anything that resists. They've got the wind at their back, but how does it stack up against the modern playing field? Well, it's time to find out. We'll assemble a team of the best bird buddies cardboard can buy, chart our course to see how we can get to our destination, and see what lovely sights we can see along the way. It's time to fly high with Flundereeze. But before we continue, a quick reminder to please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed my content so far. We've blasted past the previous goal of 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but like one of the most powerful Utopia cards, I'm going all in. Double or nothing. And if we get to 10,000 subscribers, I'll cover that card as well as many others in Utopia Explained. We also have a Discord where we have spooky tournaments, and a Twitter where you can stay up to date on channel news and my bad takes. And if you really like what I do here, please consider joining my YouTube membership. It's basically like a Twitch sub, or backing me on Patreon so you can get your name in the credits, as well as help determine future Explained videos that I make. Thank you all so much for watching, and now, back to the video. So, what's the deal with Flundereeze? Well, they're a series of winged beast monsters, jumping between wind and water attributes, and their levels are either 1 or 10, there's no in between. The level 1s are all about grabbing new cards and setting up your resource loop, while the level 10s are your big payoffs, providing powerful disruption effects. Let's start with our level 1s, and we'll do so by going over their effects that they share. If they're ever face up and leave the field, they get banished. However, if a winged beast is normal summoned to your field, you can add them back to your hand. They also have a unique effect that activates when they're normal summoned, but always ends with you normal summoning a winged beast monster. And if you activate any of their effects, you can't special summon monsters from anywhere before or afterwards. So no getting sneaky with any for the rest of the turn clauses. If you want to fly with these aces, you gotta go all in. Flundereeze Robina is a water monster with 600 attack and 1200 defense, and if normal summoned, you can add a level 4 or lower winged beast monster from your deck to your hand, then normal summon a winged beast. Now, I expect the play sequence you're meant to follow is to search out Eaglin, the next monster we're going to be talking about, normal summon it, and keep the combo going from there. But there are a ton of monsters you can search and then subsequently normal summon. Grab Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds for some more summon locking. What's it gonna hurt you? You just normal summon all your waters. Battlestorm to get some back row removal, Gale the Whirlwind to cut an opponent's monster down to size, or even DD Crow for some graveyard hate. You may not be able to effectively grab more explosive monsters from themes like Lyrilisk or Harpies, but Robina is otherwise an outstanding card to help these birds of a feather flock together. Flundereeze Eaglin is a wind monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense, and if normal summoned, you can add a level 7 or higher winged beast monster from your deck to your hand, then normal summon a winged beast. There are a lot less splashable targets to get with this effect, but it does get you to your bosses, as well as Ryza the Mega Monarch to pull some extreme deck stacking shenanigans, Abralos the Mega Quake to giant Trunade your opponent's field, or Cymorg of Darkness to get some spell and trap negation. Under normal circumstances, tribute summoning these monsters would be a huge task, but with Eaglin, you can do so with the greatest of Flundereeze. Flundereeze Stritch is a water monster with 700 attack and 1100 defense, and if normal summoned, you can target a card in either grave and banish it, then normal summon a winged beast monster. So while you can add DD Crow to your deck, now you can play it as part of your engine. This can take out key cards in your opponent's grave, but it's also very helpful when it comes to banishing your own cards. Any of your level 1s that get stuck in the grave can be banished by Stritch, at which point you can add them back to your hand next time you normal summon. And you won't have to wait long for that, because normal summoning is the next part of Strix's effect. It may not seem quite as useful as our previous two when it comes to establishing our end board, but it's no reason to bury this card in the sand. Flundereeze Tokon is a wind monster with 500 attack and 1300 defense, and if normal summoned, you can target one of your banished Flundereeze cards and add them to your hand, then normal summon a winged beast. Now this seems a bit redundant, as all of our other Flundereeze that should get banished will return after a normal summon anyway. But since it can recycle any banished Flundereeze card, this means you can recycle a normal trap we'll talk about later that's absolutely no joke. This also means that should any future support function in the same way, Tokon will be well equipped to get them back into your hand to use again, causing some pretty fruity loops. Alright, now it's time to talk about our level 10s. Flundereeze Snowl is a water monster with 2900 attack and 800 defense. Once per turn, if Snowl has been summoned via tribute summoning, you can activate an effect that gives you 3 normal summons in a turn instead of 1. They also grant piercing battle damage to all your monsters as long as Snowl has been tribute summoned, and as a quick effect once per turn during your opponent's turn, you can banish a card from your hand to change all of your opponent's special summoned monsters to face down defense position. Now, if that effect sounds familiar, that's because it's very similar to Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. And while this version only works on special summoned monsters, those tend to be the scariest. You can even pierce through everything you flip down for maximum disrespect. It also makes for a good first boss to make, as all the extra normal summons will help you put together the tributes you need for the rest. Normally, tribute decks like this tend to move at a glacial pace, but with all the advantages this card gives you, you'll reach your plan in no time. Flundereeze Empen is a wind monster with 2700 attack and 1000 defense, and if tribute summoned, you can add a Flundereeze spell or trap from your deck to your hand, then immediately afterwards, you can normal summon any monster from your hand. While you control them and they were tribute summoned, your opponent can't activate the effects of their special summoned monsters in attack position. Also, once per battle, if Empen battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation, you can banish a card from your hand, and that opponent's monster's attack and defense becomes halved until the end of the turn. Good gravy, this card is awesome. Snowl is an enabler and disruptor, but Empen packs the power to be nigh unbeatable in battle. It's going to be tough to find a monster packing more than 5400 attack. Boral Sword and Avramax might have been able to, but the effect that would allow them can't be activated because of Empen's effect. Even banishing the card isn't that big of a deal, because as long as you're banishing a Flundereeze card, it'll come right back to your hand if it's one of your level 1s after you normal summon, or Tokon can grab it back if it's anything else. The Monarch comparison for this archetype has never been more fitting than it is now, because this Emperor Penguin rules. And let's not forget about these spells and traps we can search, because they are a doozy. Let's start with Flundereeze and the Unknown Wind. It's a continuous spell that allows you to conduct a tribute summon by sending a monster you control and a card your opponent controls to the grave instead of tributing, but it is still counted as a tribute summon. Also, during your main phase, you can reveal up to 2 winged beast monsters in your hand, place them on the bottom of your deck in any order, then draw the same number of cards. And that hand fixing is phenomenal. Our big birds are pretty good, but we'd rather search them with Eaglin when we're ready for them to take flight. And the first effect isn't half bad either, essentially letting you kaiju an opponent's card as part of the summon of our level 10s. It doesn't even look like it's once per turn. The only thing that's going to cause an issue here is the wording. You have to send a monster on your field, but for your opponent's field, it just asks you to send a card. I'm not sure about the particulars here. Does it allow you to tribute an opponent's field spell for any kind of summon, or is it just in place for things that can substitute for tribute summons? Vision Hero, Witch Raider, and the True Dracos come to mind, so that it works as normal, but doesn't allow to tribute non-monsters for things that don't normally allow for it? I feel like it's supposed to be the former. It sends cards to the grave in place of tributing, so I think it just bypasses those mechanics entirely, but don't take my word for it. There may be some ruling somewhere that I'm unaware of, but that's getting into the unknown unknown of the unknown wind, and that's a bit too much for me to handle right now. Flundereeze and the Mysterious Map is a field spell that allows you to reveal a level 1 Flundereeze in your hand during your main phase, and if you do, banish a Flundereeze card with a different name from your deck, then normal summon the revealed monster once the effect resolves. Also, if your opponent normal summons a monster, you can normal summon a Flundereeze. So you know how I said the only non-monster Tokon can add off their effect would be a normal trap? Well, with this effect, it basically turns into a searcher for anything. Reveal Tokon, banish whatever card you want, add it back to your hand once the normal summon is done, and Tokon will then give you a normal summon, and none of this uses your actual normal summon. And the ability to normal summon on your opponent's turn means that you could potentially set up more bird bosses on your opponent's turn, stringing together normal summons until you've got Empen and Snowl on board for some truly heinous coverage. This map may not have the X that marks the spot, but that's because it's leading you to that sweet X&O tournament run you've been waiting for. Flundereeze and the City of Dreams is a normal trap that you can activate during any main phase to, immediately after the effect resolves, normal summon a level 4 or lower winged beast monster. And if you tribute summon a level 7 or higher monster of any type while this card is in the grave, you can banish it to change all monsters your opponent controls to face down defense position. So hey, that effect that lets you normal summon on your opponent's turn from map? Now you've got it whenever you want with City of Dreams. And even if you don't end on Snoll, have this in your grave and M-Pen can handle flipping down your opponent's field by themselves. And while you can't use this to immediately tribute summon for something like Rise of the Mega Monarch by itself, the follow-up Flundereeze can do that for you. It's a very strong and versatile card, so make sure you don't sleep on it. Flundereeze and the Scary Sea is a counter trap that you can activate in response to your opponent special summoning any number of monsters while you control a face-up tribute summoned monster and no special summoned monsters. On resolution, your opponent can't special summon for the rest of the turn, though they do gain the Snoll effect to normal summon 3 times in a turn, and also the summon is negated and all the affected monsters go to the hand. Scary Sea is right, because this card is outright terrifying. I cannot remember the last theme that was competitively relevant that could get by just on its normal summon, so this can be a complete shutout. Granted, you can only use this in response to inherent summons, so if they're being summoned by an effect, you'll have to pass on activating this card for a bit, but any normally executed Synchro, Xyz, or Link summon is fair game. And don't even get me started on what you can get up to with Pendulum summons. Make sure you sequence your plays right, because if you get caught under this too early, your entire game plan is gonna get capsized. Okay, that's all the Flundereeze cards, but what do we do with them? Well, we have some big monsters, but the goal here isn't to accumulate 8,000 points of damage to steamroll our opponent, we're here to amass them slowly, all while throwing a wrench in our opponent's game plan by means of locking out effects, special summons, and flipping whole boards face down, so we're going to be playing some kind of control. Our big bosses already have some strong tools for that at their disposal, but what can we play to help them out? We don't have hard monster removal in Engine, but we do have access to generic winged beast support, and the best one is Icarus Attack. If you end up with a spare level 1 on field, or even a level 10 that's about to kick the bucket, trade it and Icarus Attack away to blast away 2 of your opponent's cards. And while this next card is much more geared towards Harpy ladies, you can use Harpy's Feather Storm to shut off all of your opponent's activated monster effects. Just, you know, make sure you have the right kind of Flundereeze on board. If you only have water ones, then things are going to get a little embarrassing. Cymorg Repulsion is also a nice way to clear a back row so you don't have to worry about interaction. In fact, a lot of Cymorg cards can be pretty useful, but there's a lot of conflicts. The new Dark one is at its best when special summoned, but it does negate spells and traps. The Elbor's Field Spell is pretty spiffy, but we already have a field spell. And Bird of Divinity, by nature of being a Link monster that special summons every turn, doesn't really mesh with a deck that hates special summoning. There's also a whole swath of Monarch support at our disposal. March of the Monarchs is functionally Mound of the Bound Creator without having to conflict with map, Strike of the Monarchs is a bit costly but can save you from a powerful effect if need be, and the Monarch's Erupt is just skill drain. And everyone loves Skill Drain, the most fair card ever printed. As for a silly tech pick, I've got my eyes on Urgent Ritual Art. And what do we summon with it? The Shino Barons! Both are searchable off Eaglin's effect, and our level 10s make for great ritual fodder. They can sweep away cards with powerful removal effects at quick effect speed thanks to Urgent Ritual Art, and you can splash things like a Mono Awato to shut off your opponent's effects entirely. And those tokens that get left behind when your Shino Barons bounce back to your hand, they do conflict with Scary Sea, but you can just tribute them away and it's like they were never there. And that's all I've got to say about Flundereeze. I'm worried that, like most Monarch decks, we'll have to deal with a lot of brickiness, but I feel like if any deck has the tools to overcome those limitations, it's this one. And it's pretty normal to feel like this deck isn't going anywhere, but match this up against any meta threat, and you'll find out that your opponent is nothing special. But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Do you think Flundereeze is riding an updraft, or are they going to need to train a bit more before they've earned their wings? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video around. It really does a lot to help me out. I'd also like to take this time to thank my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commander, CozyBoat275, Nebula Navigators, Billy Spence, Genesis Yu-Gi-Oh!, Gloomba331, Panther J, Shep Chow Shep, The Wizard Moose and the Fresh Prince of Conair, Cosmic Crusaders, Chaz Ghost, Colin Todd, Panda PLS and Legendary Raven, as well as the lovely Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. And if you want to see another video all about high-flying fighters, check out this video I did all about Raid Raptors. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.